What's up, Canes fans? Peter Ariz here, going live as Miami has just been announced as the number 4 team in the college football playoff, ranking seeded third as one of the 4 highest ranked conference champions. So we're going to dive into that here. It's a nice feeling, man. We haven't been in the mix here for these playoff shows since 2017 during the Mark Richt era with Malik Rozier at quarterback. And that was the 4-team playoff. So, of course, the first year here with the 12-team playoff, and they are still going through it right now. But Miami seeded 4th. Georgia has now been announced as Miami ranked 4th, seeded 3rd. Georgia announced here as the 3rd ranked team, seeded number 2. So of course it looks like it'll be Ohio State number 2. Yep. And then Oregon undefeated as the number 1 seed in the country. So it's Oregon number 1, Georgia seeded number 2 as the highest ranked conference champion. Oregon would bump down Ohio State, even though Ohio State is ranked as the number 2 team in the country. So it's interesting. They have it as Oregon, Ohio State here as 1, 2, and just looking at the top 25 polls, both the coaches poll and the AP poll, both of those polls have Georgia as the number 2 team. So early on, we see this somewhat. It's always interesting to see what the committee thinks of teams initially, right here out of the gate, because a lot will be judged from this point forward. And obviously, they think very highly here of the Big Ten, with those 2 teams as the top 2 teams in the country here. And again, Miami as the 4th ranked team, so behind 2 one-loss teams in Ohio State and Georgia. But they have them there ahead of Texas, who, of course, Georgia handled Texas pretty easily. So, it's nice to be in this conversation, guys, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but this was like you automatically skip the channel when the Monday night playoff or Tuesday night playoff shows were on normally, because Miami wasn't in the mix. I didn't care for it. So it's cool to see, the build up for it, even though, again, bottom line here, as you guys hop in the comments and let me know what you think about this as well. But this does not matter at the end of the day. The most important thing for Miami is securing the ACC championship so that you get the bye in the first round. That's bottom line to me. The champion of this whole thing is going to be a team that gets a bye. So most important thing right there is finishing the season strong in that aspect, which pretty much means winning out. Technically, you could drop one of these regular season games and then still win the ACC, of course, but don't want to go down that road. Finish the job, finish this season undefeated, and get into the playoffs unscathed with a bye. Get yourselves an extra week of rest. I think that's going to be step number 1 here. So this is a great start. Miami ranked again number 3. The back end of the rankings is pretty interesting as I turn my head here and I'm looking at the TV as the show's still going on here. But BYU number 4 is the undefeated champion of the Big 12 right now, projected. Then Ohio State, who, because even though they're the number 2 ranked team, seeding wise, they would be 5th because Oregon is projected ahead of them. So, I think from Miami's perspective, being ranked 4th and seeded 3rd is as Kermit Russell says. He says, agreed. We are right where we should be. It's annoying seeing them ranked behind 2 one-loss teams in Georgia and Ohio State. I think we all agree that those would be teams that would be tough matchups for Miami. But you got to understand that they have a loss. Miami has a loss, and yes, they've played a tougher schedule, but I also don't see them having beaten, a bunch of great teams. Georgia obviously beat Texas, but college football is wide open this year. There's not an absolutely dominant team, and I think just looking at it here, and we had this discussion on the show today, D Money and I. you're not seeing these dominant teams right now. So why can't Miami make a run here? And I think this is the first step to it. So get any questions in here that that you guys want as I kind of go through things here. And SMU, by the way, being the first team left out, so they would be the third. They were the 13th ranked, 13th seeded team in the picture. Which, look, if they win out and they get to the AC championship and they beat Miami, then obviously it won't matter. But yeah, it looks like with them starting outside of the picture, it's going to be tough for them to get in if they do lose a close game. Win the rest of their games, lose a close game to Miami, and in the AC championship, I it's going to be tough for me to see a 2-loss SMU team in there. But I think they'll try to stick an extra Big Ten and SEC team in there. Let's see what we got here. Aiden Malik says, "Do you think SMU versus Miami would be a close game?" Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be a nice matchup. I think Miami matches up well. It's a team that does, like to go tempo and score a lot of points. But I don't know if they have the recipe defensively to slow Miami down. I don't know how many teams do, but I don't know that SMU has the answer to that. And I think in the trenches, Miami still has the upper hand there. But yeah, there's no reason to say that Miami would blow them out or anything. The way that the season's gone in terms of some of these games, even though the final score has been what they've been, like we saw last week against Duke, it's still a closer game than the score indicates. But Miami is covering at the same time, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But yes, I do think that'd be definitely an entertaining game. Kermit Russell says, "We shore up the secondary. Why can't we win a natty?" Look, I think it's probably a little bit more complicated than that. I think in the trenches too, as much as I love our D line and pressures have been up there as best in the country, but I still want to see them finish and absolutely take over games. I mean, you see the teams that win national championships, even outside of the Clemsons and the Alabamas over the last 10, 15 years. It's been, outside of the Georgias and the Bamas, it's been the Clemson teams, the Florida State teams with absolutely dominant defensive lines, first rounders, high picks all over those lines. So is this team there right now in terms of that? I think it's a really solid line, but I think there's still some size that you might be missing there. But I'm with you. There's no reason they can't make a run this season with the way that the landscape of college football looks right now. Dolphin Derek says, "Who cares what the seed is? Just win." I mean, look, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, right? Because if you win, you're going to get the bye. If you win out, you're going to get the bye, which is the most important thing here in this scenario. It's just interesting to see where the committee sees Miami stacking up. Obviously, as the fourth, they think they're the fourth best team in the country at this point of the season because of the way the seeding works. They would be the third seed. I keep repeating it, but for those of you who are hopping on now, but the perception part of it is what's interesting to me. Tyson Tracy is asking, is it too early to book my seats for the AC Championship? I have my trip booked already, man. I got the hotel and the flights already. I haven't gotten the tickets, but I do think tickets are on sale through the ACC already. Juan Manuel V says, "Pete, do you think we see more Robbie Washington?" And look, guys, I'll answer a few more questions here, but then kind of just wrapping things up because I want to get this in. I wanted to make this an instant reaction to the rankings. Nothing really too crazy that sticks out to me. The SMU thing is interesting, but to answer your question, Juan Manuel V, I think yes, that's a possibility in terms of Robbie Washington, but I think we see more Mish Powell, potentially a nickel, more Zaquan Patterson. But Markeith Williams is a guy in coverage that I think could bring some good things to the table for you. 3 months or 3 games in 3 months in Atlanta. Let's get it. Georgia Tech, the national championship, and I guess one of the other games, one of the other playoff games as well in the bracket that's laid out. So, guys, I wanted to give a shout out to Asset Dash, the best portfolio tracker on the net when it comes to crypto. Let me pull up the site here real quick. You see the QR code right there. The only app you need, Crypto Asset Dash. You can track everything from cryptos, NFTs, stocks. Code Canes, all caps, CANES, Canes. You'll get a free premium Asset Dash Gold membership for life. Go check it out, guys. AssetDash.com. So, again, just wrapping things up here. Miami ranked number 4 in the college football playoff rankings. Looking at the teams just outside of the top 12, SMU 13, A&M suffering a loss last week at 14, LSU at 15, Ole Miss at 16. They're dying for one of these SEC teams to jump in there and give them maybe 4 teams. I mean, that would be pretty crazy, but it's not off the table. I think that they'll do whatever they can to get the SEC team in there for sure. Galaxy King asking about Damari Brown. Is his injury season ending? It does not look like it's season ending in terms of, Mario Cristobal says he expects him out there maybe last game of the season. Postseason, you would like to get him out for that Syracuse game so you get his feet wet before AC championship and before playoffs. Jadeus Richard is the one that it looks like it was pretty severe, and he'll be missing for a bit. All right, everybody, I'm going to hop off here. Canes ranked number 4 in the college football playoff initial rankings, seeded number 3, just went out. It's nice to be watching these shows with a smile on our faces, though, I'll tell you what, and not really have to worry. And that's all I got to do. Go 1-0 every week. Take care of business. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Go Canes. Appreciate everyone for hopping on tonight.